President Trump has renewed his warnings to Iran against supporting the Houthis in Yemen. Mr. Trump issued his threats as the US forces launched large-scale strikes against Houthi targets, the biggest US military operation since he returned to office. Iran has condemned the attacks, calling them brutal. The first, on Saturday, hit the capital Sana'a, reportedly targeting air defences and radar systems, as well as missile and drone sites. A US official said the strikes, which so far have killed at least 31 people, according to the Houthi-run health ministry, could last for weeks. In a social media post, US Central Command said the strikes were intended to, in their words, defend American interests, deter enemies and restore freedom of navigation. Now, the Houthis are an Iran-backed armed group in de facto control of most of Yemen, and they started attacking commercial vessels in response to Israel's war in Gaza. Those attacks saw traffic in the Suez Canal fall by 2/3 between 2023 and 2024. They haven't attacked any ships since November, but on Wednesday threatened to resume them in response to Israel's blockades of electricity and aid entering Gaza. Let's speak to Fawaz Gerges, who's Professor of International Relations at the London School of Economics. Thank you for joining us. Your reaction to the events of the last day or so?
Well, really qualitative escalation on the part of the Trump administration. I think Trump has two aims. First is to preemptively deter the Houthis from re-attacking the shipping lanes in the Red Sea. But I think the broader, bigger aim of the Trump administration is to exert pressure on Iran, to force Iran to come to the table and talk about its nuclear and ballistic missile programs. And that's why Trump yesterday made it very clear that he will hold Iran fully responsible for any kind of support for the Houthis. So, and this is not just about today's attacks on the Houthis. There are multiple reports that the Trump administration will continue to attack the Houthis and try to destroy whatever military capacity they have. What we know in the past 17 months is that his predecessor, President Biden, carried out multiple attacks, multiple times against the Houthis, and it failed to deter the Houthis because it's an asymmetrical warfare. So we have to wait and see whether the new strategy by the Trump administration will be more effective than the Biden's administration strategy.
And you say that the Trump administration is keen for Iran to return to the negotiating table over its nuclear program. Given that the Houthis are directed largely by Iran and that Iran's other proxy, Hezbollah, has been so weakened in Lebanon, what do you think the chances of that are?
Well, I think my reading, and remember, we are speculating that Iran does not really want to get militarily engaged with the United States or with Israel. Iran is in a waiting mode. It does not really want to fall into the trap of either Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu or the hardliners within the Trump administration who really would like to destroy Iran's nuclear program. The only problem is it's miscalculation. What if basically Iran supplies the Houthis with more advanced technologies? And the Houthis have made it very clear they will retaliate, and you're going to see the Houthis retaliating in the next few days when they can target other American ships or ships in the Red Sea. So the situation now, we have to wait and see what will happen in the next few days, but I doubt it very much whether Iran will respond to Trump's threats directly, because Iran is not really prepared at this particular moment to get engaged militarily with either Israel or the United States.
The fact that one of the aims of these airstrikes is to improve the conditions for ships going through these routes that are affected by attacks from the Houthis, do you think that that will actually make things worse in the short time, that there will be more attacks from the Houthis on these shipping routes?
Well, if history is a guide, I think the situation is going to get scarier and riskier and more dangerous. And that's exactly what happened when the Biden administration escalated the attacks against the Houthis. Remember, we're talking about asymmetrical warfare. The Houthis have very little to lose. In fact, both the Biden administration and the Trump administrations have raised the profile of the Houthis because the United States, the most powerful nation in the world, has taken on the Houthis, a very tiny group in Yemen. But the reality is, without really ending the war in Gaza, because the Houthis have stopped attacking the shipping lanes after the ceasefire in Gaza. Now, with Israel's blockade of Gaza, the Houthis have threatened to attack the shipping lanes, even though they have not done so. What I worry about is that the Trump administration escalating its response. There are multiple reports coming from Washington saying that some elements of the Trump administration would like to become more militarily engaged and try to for regime change in Yemen. And ironically, the Trump administration basically has come to power, to the White House, on the premise that he does not really want any military engagements in the world, including in the Middle East. So again, this is what we're talking about now. It's a moving target. It's very difficult to really have a clarity because there is so much dust on the battlefield. We are blinded by the dust. We have to wait and see what will happen in the next few days and next few weeks.
Professor Fawaz Gerges of the London School of Economics, thank you very much.